Metra making some big changes on several lines. With us via Zoom this afternoon is Meg Thomas Riley, the spokesperson for Metra. How are you, Meg? Doing okay?
I'm great for a Monday.
Okay, for a Monday, right? All right, so let's talk about this. Some big changes, specifically on 3 different lines, correct?
Correct. One of the changes is a little smaller, but on 3 of our lines, the BNSF to Aurora, the UP West to Elburn, and the UP North to Kenosha, we are changing schedules. The first 2, the BNSF and the UP West, start on September 8th. So not this week, but 2 weeks from now. The BNSF, most of that is really we're expanding the express service because we're seeing it being used and the train's getting very crowded. So we're trying to lighten the load and give people more opportunities to board and use those express trains. On the UP West, it's a little more making stops more consistent and looking at travel patterns. So it's not necessarily adding trains, it's changing the stopping patterns on a few trains. And then on the UP North, we are on September 15th going to be expanding the weekend schedule, and most notably significant expansions on Sunday. So essentially the same number of trains are going to be operating on Saturdays as they are on Sundays. That also means for holidays, people are going to have more options to travel on the UP North.
I hope you had notes in front of you because that's a lot to remember. These changes are coming about just because out of pure necessity, what you're seing, right, with ridership.
Well, what we're seeing with our ridership, we're not back to pre-COVID levels. What we're seeing from looking at data that we're pulling from the Metra app is that 95% of the people who rode us pre-COVID are still using our service. They're just not using it as often. So what we're seeing most of the time is that Mondays and Fridays are light, although Fridays are starting to build a little bit. And the middle of the week is packed. And that's a lot due to remote work patterns. And so we're trying to make it not only accommodate the riders that are coming on board, but make, in some of these changes, especially for the UP North line, make the system easier to understand. So you're not going, okay, what schedule am I looking at? It's just a weekend schedule.
How often do you make these changes?
We make them as needed. Mm-hmm. I'd say lately, post-COVID, we've probably had something changing about every 6 months on at least 1 or 2 of the lines. But now we're building up to, we actually have nearly as many trains as we did pre-COVID. Operating on the weekdays.
Yeah. Last question for you, Meg. There's a lot of talk about funding lately with our transportation, right? And just recently, $74 million was shifted from PACE and Metra to the CTA. Thoughts?
Okay. Yeah, it's a little, as usual with these funding things, a little more complicated than that. What is being shifted over is out of the sales tax and the other funding that's provided to the transit agencies and basically to the RTA. Then there's a statutory formula for how it is dispersed between the CTA, Metra, and PACE. Okay, so that's 85% of it. Then there's a 15% that goes to the RTA. They don't use all of that, and the rest of that pot is called discretionary, and that $74 million is actually the discretionary that normally would be shared amongst all the agencies. It's now going straight to CTA to prevent them from going over the fiscal cliff first.
Okay. All right. No fiscal cliffs. We're going to steer clear of the fiscal cliffs. All right.
That's what we're hoping, and we're hoping something happens during the veto session that resolves all this for everyone. But in the meantime, we're trying to address, while we're here, we're trying to keep moving forward so that if that comes, we have the information we need to know where the cuts are going to do the least harm.
Yeah. Okay. Meg Thomas Riley, spokesperson for Metra. We appreciate you coming on and talking about all these changes. Thanks so much.
Thank you. You're welcome.